You are rushing through a packed city street, running late for an important meeting, and the crowd is barely moving. Your chest tightens, your breathing gets shallow, and a wave of pure anxiety hits you. In moments of intense stress, we usually default to one of two reactions. We frantically try to distract ourselves by staring at our phones, or we force a positive spin on the situation, desperately trying to convince ourselves that everything is fine. We will explore a surprisingly simple, neuroscience-backed alternative called affect labeling. We will map the specific three-part brain circuit that makes it possible, break down the fMRI scans that prove how it operates, and outline a daily protocol you can use to physically improve your health. But most people hesitate to use this tool because of a misunderstanding of how emotions work. When researchers ask people to predict how they will feel if they explicitly name a negative emotion, they overwhelmingly assume it will make them feel worse. They predict that saying the words, "I am terrified," out loud will only amplify the terror. The reality is that the brain responds to that honesty. The act of putting your feelings into words acts as a biological brake pedal. Naming the emotion reduces self-reported distress just as effectively as intentional strategies like trying to reframe the entire situation. Acknowledging a negative feeling does not feed the distress. It triggers an automatic, involuntary biological override that physically forces your brain into a calmer state. When confronted with an emotional trigger, an almond-shaped structure deep inside your brain called the amygdala fires up. This is your rapid response alarm bell, and it is responsible for unleashing the cascade of stress hormones that make your heart race and your palms sweat. Skeptics argue that taking the time to name an emotion lowers reactivity simply because it divides your attention. They assume any mental task would distract the brain enough to calm the amygdala. To test this theory, researchers put human subjects into an fMRI scanner to monitor their brain activity in real time. The researchers presented participants with images of highly emotional faces and assigned them several control tasks. The participants were asked to passively observe the faces, match simple geometric shapes, or assign gender labels to the images, like choosing the name Harry or Sally. Then came the target condition. In this task, called affect labeling, the participants looked at the exact same emotional faces, but were asked to choose a specific emotional word, like angry or sad, to match the image. The scan showed a specific pattern. While the amygdala remained highly active during the control tasks, even during gender labeling, only the act of labeling the emotion itself successfully dampened the alarm system. The cognitive effort of distraction offers no emotional regulation on its own. Lowering the brain's alarm state requires the specific linguistic engagement of taking an emotional concept and translating it into words. Looking at this cross-section of the human brain, the process starts right behind the forehead. This is the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, or RVLPFC. This region specializes in symbolic processing, taking a raw, abstract feeling and turning it into a concrete linguistic concept. The language center does not talk directly to the fear center. Instead, it sends a signal to a critical middleman, the medial prefrontal cortex, or MPFC. Once engaged, the MPFC sends a top-down control signal directly into the almond-shaped amygdala, essentially ordering the entire alarm system to stand down. This chart visualizes the mathematical relationship between these two areas. Tracking language center activity on the x-axis against amygdala activity on the y-axis reveals a strong negative correlation, measured at -0.51. The more the language center lights up, the quieter the fear center becomes. This circuit functions as a general emotional volume dial. Brain scans using pleasant stimuli show that affect labeling also reduces self-reported pleasure and positive arousal. It lowers the intensity of whatever is currently playing in the mind. You do not need a genuine desire to feel better for this to work. Supplying the brain with a precise emotional label mechanically engages this exact circuit, forcing a state of emotional equilibrium. This brain circuit connects directly to your autonomic nervous system. The pathway from the prefrontal cortex down to the amygdala is physically wired into the systems that control your heart rate and your immune response. To test the physical limits of this effect, clinical researchers tracked a group of patients suffering from rheumatoid arthritis, a painful autoimmune disease. Over a 6-month period, these patients were given recorders and asked to speak about stressful events, effectively putting their feelings into words. The act of spoken disclosure resulted in measurable physical improvements. By the end of the trial, the patients experienced reduced physical pain, fewer swollen joints, and an overall improvement in their walking speed. These results suggest that the core of mindfulness or talk therapy is the deliberate use of this biological break. By noting an internal state, stating there is worry or there is anger, we engage the circuit that helps shield the physical body from the damage of a stress response. Affect labeling utilizes a dedicated neural circuit. By routing a word through the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, bridging through the middle prefrontal cortex, and signaling the amygdala, you turn down the volume dial on intense emotions and reduce physical inflammation. The next time you feel overwhelmed, do not try to fix the situation or push the feeling away. Simply state the emotion. Say to yourself, silently or aloud, "I feel anxious right now," or "anger is here." Giving voice to your inner chaos actively robs it of its power. A named monster is a monster half defeated. The simple act of putting your feelings into words is the most elegant built-in self-regulation tool you possess.